Hi, hi everyone. Wow, this is overwhelming. This happened. What happened? I've never had such a reaction to just doing a one-off commission. I've read a lot of first chapters of books or first or second chapters. This was very overwhelming. So to prevent it to be too overwhelming, because I still want to actually have some free time to do things. I have things I do in my life, not many. I'll be uploading every day one video. It would be nice to have something else. Sort of like if you remember when I was doing Super Shoebox Project, the weekends will count, so there'll be uploads like this one is going up today on Saturday. Someone's already commissioned the first 5 chapters of the second book, which is Searching for Dragons. So feel free, go wild. This will be fun. Anyway, so this is actually for Natalie, who commissioned the first chapter yesterday. This is chapter 2 of Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C, called "In Which Cimmerine Discovers the Value of a Classical Education and Has Some Unwelcome Visitors." Oh boy. Inside, the hovel was dark and cool and damp. Cimmerine found it a pleasant relief after the hot, dusty robe, but she wondered why no sunlight seemed to be coming through the cracks in the boards. She was still standing just inside the door, waiting for her eyes to adjust to the dark, when someone said crossly, "Is this that princess we've been waiting for?" "Why don't you ask her?" said a deep, rumbly voice. "I'm Princess Cimmerine of Cimmerine of Linderwall," Cimmerine answered politely. "I was told you could help me." "Help her," said the first voice, and Cimmerine heard a snort. "I think we should just eat her and be done with it." What? Okay. Cimmerine began to feel frightened. She wondered whether the voices belonged to ogres or trolls, or whether she could slip out of the hovel before they made up their minds about eating her. She felt behind her for the door and started in surprise when her fingers touched damp stone instead of dry wood. Then a third voice said, "Not so fast, Wrede. Let's hear her story first." So Cimmerine took a deep breath and began to explain about the fencing lessons and the magic lessons, and the Latin and the juggling, and all the other things that weren't considered proper behavior for a princess, and she told the voices that she had run away from Salem and by the mountains to keep from having to marry Prince Thurandel. "And what do you expect us to do about it?" said one of the voices curiously. I don't know," Cimmerine said, "except, of course, that I would rather not be eaten. I can't see who you are in this dark, you know." "That can be fixed," said the voice. A moment later, a small ball of light appeared in the air above Cimmerine's head. Cimmerine stepped backward, but very quickly, and ran into the wall. Oh, it's the name of the book. How did I not figure this out? It's the name of the goddamn book. Okay. Voices belong to dragons. Dragons! Five of them! 5 of them lay on or sprawled over or curled around the various rocks and columns that filled the huge cave where Cimmerine stood. Each of the males, there were 3, had 2 short, stubby, sharp-looking horns on either side of their heads. The female dragon had 3, one on each side and one in the center of her forehead. The last dragon was apparently still too young to have made up its mind which sex it wanted to be. It didn't have any horns at all. Cimmerine, I like genderqueer dragons. It's great. Cimmerine felt very frightened. The smallest of the dragons was easily 3 times as tall as she was, and they gave an overwhelming impression of shining green scales and sharp silver teeth. They were much scarier in person than in the pictures she remembered from her natural history books. She swallowed very hard, wondering whether she really would rather be eaten by a dragon than marry Thurandel. "Well," said the 3-horned dragon in front of her, "just what are you asking us to do for you?" Cimmerine stopped short as an idea occurred to her. Cautiously, she asked, "Dragons are fond of princesses, aren't they?" "Very," said the dragon, and smiled. The smile showed all her teeth, which Cimmerine did not find reassuring. "That is, I've heard of dragons who have captive princesses to cook for them and so on," said Cimmerine, who had very little idea what captive princesses did all day. The dragon in front of Cimmerine nodded. One of the others, a yellowish-green in color, shifted restlessly and said, "Let's just go ahead and eat her. It will save trouble." Before any of the other dragons could answer, there was a loud, booming noise, and a 6th dragon slithered into the cave. His scales were more gray than green, and the dragons by the door made way for him respectfully. "Kazul," said the newcomer in a loud voice. "Achoo! Sorry I'm late, but a terrible thing happened on the way here. Achoo!" Is it a sneezing dragon? Wouldn't he blow flames everywhere? I don't want to know. "What was it?" said the dragon to whom Cimmerine had been talking. "Ran into a wizard. Achoo! You had to eat him. No help for it. Achoo! Achoo! And now look at me." Every time the green dragon sneezed, he emitted a small ball of fire that scorched the wall of the cave. "Calm down, Roxim," said Kazul. You're only making it worse." Oh, his name's Roxim. Or Roxim, I guess it could be. "Achoo! Calm down. When I'm having an allergy attack?" He's allergic to wizards. Oh, shit. "Oh, achoo! Oh, bother! Achoo!" said the green dragon. "Somebody give me a handkerchief. Achoo!" "Here," said Cimmerine, holding out one of the ones she had brought with her. "Use this." She was beginning to feel much less frightened, for the great green dragon reminded her of her great uncle, who was rather old and hard of hearing, and whom she was rather fond. "What's that?" said Roxime. "Achoo! Oh, hurry up and give it here." Kazul took the handkerchief from Cimmerian, using two claws very delicately, and passed it to Roxime. The grey-green dragon mopped his streaming eyes and blew his nose. "That's better, I thank you." "Achoo! Oh, drat!" The ball of fire that accompanied the dragon's sneeze had reduced the handkerchief to charred scrap. Oh, Lord. Cimmerian hastily dug out another one and handed it to Kazul, feeling very glad that she had brought several spares. Roxime went through two more handkerchiefs before his sneezing spasms finally stopped. "Much better," he said. "Now then, who's this that's lent me the handkerchiefs? Somebody's new princess, eh?" "We were just discussing that when you came in," Kazul said, and turned back to Cimmerian. "You were saying about cooking and so on?" "Couldn't I do that for one of you for a while?" Cimmerian said. The dragon smiled again, and Cimmerian swallowed hard. "Possibly. Why would you want to do that?" "Because then I wouldn't have to go home and marry Thurandil," Cimmerian said. "Being a dragon's princess is a perfectly respectable thing to do, so my parents couldn't complain, and it would be much more interesting than embroidery and dancing lessons." Several of the dragons made snorting or choking noises. Cimmerian jumped, then decided that they were laughing. "This echoing my thoughts. This is ridiculous," said a large, bright green dragon on Cimmerian's left. "Why?" asked Kazul. "A princess volunteering? Out of the question." "That's easy for you to say," one of the other dragons grumbled. "You already have a princess. What about the rest of us?" "Yes, don't be stuffy, Warog," said another. "Besides, what else can we do with her?" "Eat her," suggested the yellowish-green dragon in a bored tone. "No proper princess will come out looking for dragons," Warog objected. "Well, I'm not a proper princess, then," Cimmerian snapped. "I make cherries jubilee, and I volunteer for dragons, and I conjugate Latin verbs, or at least I would if anyone would let me. So there." "She's great." "Hear, hear," said the grey-green dragon. "You see," Warog said, "who would want an improper princess?" "I would," said Kazul. "You can't be serious, Kazul," Warog said irritably. "Why?" "I like Cherry's Jubilee," Kazul replied, still watching Cimmerian, "and I like the look of her. Besides, the Latin scrolls in my library need cataloging, and if I can't find someone who knows a little of the language, I'll have to do it myself." "Give her a trial run first," the purplish-green dragon advised. Warog snorted. "Latin and Cherry's Jubilee. And for that you'd take on a black-haired, snippy little—" "I'll thank you to be polite when you're discussing my princess," Kazul said, and smiled fiercely. He's already protective of her. "Nice little gal," Roxime said, nodding approvingly and waving Cimmerian's next-to-last handkerchief. "Got sense. Be good for you, Kazul. If that's settled, I'm going to go find a snack," said the yellowish-green dragon. Warog looked around, but the other dragons seemed to agree with Roxime. "Oh, very well," Warog said grumpily. "It's your choice, after all." "It certainly is. Now, Princess, if you'll come this way, I'll get you settled in." What? What is this book? Oh my god. Cimmerian followed Kazul across the cave and down a tunnel. To her relief, the ball of light came with her. She had the uncomfortable feeling that if she tried to walk behind Kazul in the dark, she would have stepped on her tail, which would not have been a good beginning. Kazul led Cimmerian through a long maze of tunnels and finally stopped in another cave. "Here we are," the dragon said. "You can use the small room over on the right. I believe my last princess left most of the furnishing behind when she ran off with the knight." "Thank you," Cimmerian said. "When do I start my duties? And what are they, please?" "You'll start right away," said Kazul. "I'll want dinner at 7. In the meantime, you can begin sorting the treasure." "The treasure?" The dragon nodded toward a dark opening on the left. "I'm sure some of it needs repairing. There's at least one suit of armor with a leg off, and some of the cheaper marked swords are probably getting rusty. The rest of it really ought to be rearranged sensibly. I can never find anything when I want it." "What do you need it for?" Touching. I keep thinking of the Hobbit and Smaug just swimming in gold, like a dog in the grass. That's a great... Anyway. "What about the library you mentioned?" Cimmerian asked. "We'll see how you do on the treasure room first," Kazul said. "The rest of your job I'll explain as we go along. You don't object to learning a little magic, do you?" "Not at all," said Cimmerian. "Good. It'll make things much easier. Go and wash up, and I'll let you into the treasure room so you can get started." Cimmerian nodded and went to the room Kazul had told her to use. As she washed her face and hands, she felt happier than she had in a long time, which is so surreal, because she willingly gave herself up to a dragon. She was not going to have to marry Thurandil, and sorting a dragon's treasure sounded far more interesting than dancing or embroidery. She was even going to learn some magic, and her parents wouldn't worry about her once they found out what she was. Really? I feel like as a parent I would... I'm not a parent, but if I was her parent, I'd be like a little worried that she's... whatever. We'll see. She, for the first time in her life... Oh, Cimmerian was glad she was a princess. She dried her hands and turned to go back into the main cave, wondering how to best persuade Kazul to help her brush up on her Latin. She didn't want the dragon to be disappointed in her skill. Draco, Draconum, Dracone, she muttered, and her lips curved into a smile. She'd always been rather good at declining nouns. Still smiling, she started forward to begin her new duties. Cimmerian settled in very quickly. She got along well with Kazul and learned her way around the caves with a minimum of mishaps. Actually, the caves were more like an intricate web of tunnels, connecting caverns of various shapes and sizes that belonged to individual dragons. How many dragons, by the way? Just the 6 or 7 of them? It reminded Cimmerian of an underground city with tunnels instead of streets. She had no idea how far the tunnels extended, though she rather suspected that some of them had been magicked, so that when you walked down them you went a lot farther than you thought you were going. Kazul's section of the caves was fairly large. In addition to the kitchen, which was in a large cave near the exit so that there wouldn't be a problem with the smoke from the fire, she had a sleeping cavern, 3 enormous treasure rooms at the far end of an intricate maze of twisty little passages, 2 even more enormous storage rooms for less valuable items, a library, a large bare cave for eating and visiting with other dragons. Dragon living rooms! And the set of rooms assigned to Cimmerian. She has a set of rooms. I have a studio apartment. I should go find dragons. All the caves... All the caves smelled of dragon, a somewhat musty, smoky, cinnamony smell. Cimmerian's first job was to air them out. How do you do that? Cimmerian's rooms consisted of 3 small connecting caves just off Kazul's living cavern. They were furnished very comfortably in a mixture of styles and periods, and looked just like the guest rooms in most of the castles Cimmerian had visited, only without windows. They were much too small for a dragon to get inside. When asked, Kazul said the dwarves had made them in return for a favor. The dragon's tone prevented Cimmerian from inquiring too closely into just what sort of favor it had been. By the end of the first week, Cimmerian was sure enough of her position to give Kazul a list of things that she needed in the kitchen. The previous princess, of whom Cimmerian was beginning to have a very poor opinion, had apparently made do with a large skillet with 3 dents and a wobbly handle. That will not do. No. Go get a ceramic skillet. Those are great. I should stop talking. A wood mixing bowl with a crack in it, a badly tarnished copper tea kettle, and an assortment of mismatched plates, cups, and silverware, most of them chipped or bent. Kazul seemed pleased by the request, and the following day Cimmerian had everything she had asked for, except for a few of the more exotic pans and dishes. This made the cooking considerably easier and gave Cimmerian more time to spend studying Latin and sorting treasure. The treasure was just as disorganized as Kazul had told her, and putting it in order was a major task. It was sometimes hard to tell whether a ring was enchanted, and Cimmerian knew better than to put it on and see. That is a Lord of the Rings. There's no way that's not. It might be the sort of useful magic ring that turned you invisible. Come on! That's Lord of the Rings. Frodo's going to find you. Actually, it's going to be Boromir, and he's going to be really mad. But it might also be the sort of ring that turned you into a frog. Cimmerian did the best she could and kept a pile in the corner for things she was not sure about. There was a great deal of treasure to be sorted. Most of it was stacked in one of the innermost caves in a large, untidy heap of crowns, rings, jewels, swords, and coins. But Cimmerian kept finding things in other places as well, some of them quite unlikely. There was a small helmet under her bed, along with a great deal of dust, a silver bracelet set with opals on the reading table in the library, and 2 daggers and a jeweled ink pot behind the kitchen stove. Cimmerian collected them all, along with the other things that were simply lying around in the halls, and put them back in the storerooms where they belonged, thinking to herself that dragons were clearly not very tidy creatures. The first of the nights arrived at the end of the second week. Oh, our parents probably sent. This should be interesting. Cimmerian was busy cleaning swords. Kazul had been right about their condition. Not only were some of them rusty, but nearly all of them needed sharpening. She was polishing the last flakes of rust from an enormous broadsword when she heard someone calling from the mouth of the cave. Feeling somewhat irritated by the interruption, she's irritated. She rose and, carrying the sword, went to see who it was. As she came nearer to the entrance, she was able to make out the words that whoever it was shouting. "Dragon, come out and fight. Fight for the Princess Cimmerian of Linderwall." "Oh, honestly," Cimmerian muttered and quickened her step. "Hear you," she said as she came into the sunlight. Then she had to duck as a spear flashed through the air overhead. "Stop that," she cried. "I'm Princess Cimmerian." "You are?" said a doubtful voice. "Are you sure? Cimmerian raised her head cautiously and squinted. It was still fairly early in the morning, and the sun was in the back of the person standing outside the cave, so it was difficult to see anything but the outline of his figure against the brightness. "Of course I'm sure," Cimmerian said. "What did you expect? Letters of reference? Come around here where I can see who you are, please." Oh my god. This is so surreal. Okay, I'm going to make another video and keep reading this chapter.